Hey folks, it is David back again with another video. This will be part 2 of 2 of the extra long version of my hospital adventure, my appendicitis adventure. And it's quite a few days later now that I'm finally getting around to finishing up this story. I let it become kind of a chore to do in my mind, but I'm determined to do it. And it's just, I was so long-winded in detail with everything before, because this isn't just, oh, this is what it felt like and this is what you can expect. I'm telling you, I'm basically telling you my whole life adventure here, because I've never been in the hospital before, and that's why this was such a big deal, to have a medical emergency where death was on the line, or about to be, is why I'm even talking about this. If it were just something that were nothing out of the ordinary, I wouldn't be making a video about it, but this has had some life-changing, life-altering effects on my life. So that's why I wanted to make these videos and be thorough about it for posterity, for my own sake, and to share it with you all if you're interested in knowing what you can expect if you have appendicitis and what to do. First thing, if you suspect you're sick, call an ambulance. I wish I had done that. I would have saved myself quite a bit of grief, and I'll get more into exactly what that grief is as I go along in this video. But I think I'd made it as far as the hospital. I had gone to the doctor's office in Loosedale. The lady insisted on a CT scan. Okay, we're going to rule out some things, hopefully rule out appendicitis. No, it confirmed appendicitis, so off to Mobile we went, Providence Hospital. And I told you about the car ride over, how I was basically thinking I'm about to become so sick that I just might die because of the danger of sepsis setting in, because I had let this whole thing linger, thinking I had something else for several days. Extremely stupid thing to do. And I'll try not to beat myself up too much in this video. I've already done that enough in the first part, but it is what it is. It's part of it. If I had only called an ambulance when I was up there in that truck stop the previous Thursday night, they would have seen that my appendix was becoming inflamed, and they would have known, gotta get it out. Do you consent to surgery? I'm like, let's do it, because I know it's a dangerous thing if that thing ruptures. Except mine, I believe, was kind of like a slow leaking rupture, possibly. But the truth is, I don't know when it burst. I don't know when it ruptured. I have like a 2 or 3 day long time frame in my mind of when it happened, but I just keep coming back to something again and again, and it's that if that pus and that bacteria was leaking out for several days, I don't know how I didn't get a blood infection and sepsis, peritonitis, or whatever they call the initial thing where the bacteria leaks out of your appendix and goes up into the whole cavity of your lower abdomen, the wall, and touching everything, and just soaking in and making you sick. I don't know how I avoided this, because it had started 6 days before I went to the hospital. And I don't know what to say, except I believe the Lord was taking care of me. But on to the hospital we went. And my mom was getting a little emotional. I was trying to keep from getting emotional. I did a pretty good job, too, because I was like, I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do about this. There's no crying. There's no getting upset. It's just one foot in front of the other. If I can get to the hospital and get help, that's what I'm trying to do. So we got to the hospital. I noticed there was a squad car right there. I wonder if this police officer's going to look at me all awkward. This guy's sick as a dog as I got out of the car. And the pain was kicking in, as far as not an excruciating pain, but the sickness. It was like, I feel like I barely want to move, barely want to talk. It was getting to me. I just want to lay down in some bed, because I had been sick for like 3 days, 4 days, just not wanting to even move. Anyways, got in there, and I already told you about the lady. You know the way they check you in these places. I know now, where they got to get your information. Somebody called ahead. Are you in the system? Are you in the computer? Is she seeing you on the screen? If she doesn't see you on the screen, you don't really exist yet. And I have a ruptured appendix. I couldn't raise my voice. That's how this stuff had gotten to me and how I was feeling. I was like, I have a ruptured appendix. I think they called ahead. They said they were going to call ahead. There was a miscommunication. Lucedale had not called Mobile. And so it was like me walking in off the street almost. They finally figured out something. But yeah, I messed around and drank some water just because I'm like, I need to drink something. Not even thinking about the prospect of surgery. I'm not sure if I had drank any water that morning because they don't want you to drink or eat anything by mouth. Take anything by mouth after midnight before you have a surgery. Something I've also recently learned about. It used to be like 24 hours. Then again, I Googled, and now the experts are saying this doesn't hardly matter at all. I'm like, whatever. You got to do what the hospital wants you to do, and they won't have surgery according to their rules that they have to abide by until they change because they're afraid of, I'm going to get the word wrong. Exasperation? That's not right. Some process where moisture, if they start doing surgery on you, too much moisture would be triggered to go like up into your lungs, and it could be a major medical disaster, an emergency situation in itself. So they want you to not have anything much in your stomach, bladder, anything like that for many hours before. I wasn't thinking about that. All I was thinking of, this will give me a little bit of relief somehow, this cool water out of this fountain. They had me do a urine sample as the young man was going to, the tech was going to put the port in my arm, which he did, and it was my right arm. And that was in there for like the next 4 days. This little thing that they would hook the intravenous line up to. And this young guy, I complimented him, like, you do this really well. How much he sanitized with the alcohol, it kind of hurts after a few seconds, but they got to do it. They don't want any germ, anything to interfere with infection. They don't want any infection at all to interfere with this stuff. He put that in there, and the way he did it so methodically, and the needle didn't feel good, but it's like, it is what it is. I'm like, man, you do this, a good job of this. It looked perfect. He did it all perfectly, and I'm just got my arm perfectly still there. I'm like, I've got to do this right. I've got to do my part right. Be still, David. Anyway, they got that in me, did a urine sample. When I came out of that bathroom, there was this young guy, maybe 25, 26, I don't know. I'm like, he was in so much more pain than me, and it was abdominal pain. He was like clutching at his stomach. He was away from the people a little bit, but he's like in the hallway. You could hear him. I don't know what this guy had. If he had appendicitis or what, maybe he did. I don't know what else it could be. Like something was like he felt like he sounded like he was dying, and I just kind of gave him a pursed lip, like I feel you, man. As I came out of the bathroom, and he looked up at me like returning that. It's like we're both messed up here, but this guy is on the floor in pain. I just felt so bad for this guy as I took my stuff back. My family had started to get into signing me into the portal, the patient portal thing, setting up a little thing that would show everything that's being done and when, like give you a streamlined event by event, like all your information's in there and what you're in for, what's your problem. Anyways, didn't wait for too long, but I'll tell you what, my sister looked over and at me like, are you okay? Are you alright? You're going to be alright? Like she knows me in the emergency room, right? And I had gone from being kind of reluctant to go to the hospital, to the doctor's office at all, to like 3 hours later now. I'm in this hospital emergency room, Providence, Mobile, and I'm looking around thinking, like maybe this is the losing your mind part of it. Because if you look up on Google appendicitis, if it ruptures, how there's this space that you go into where you feel better, but also you become kind of delirious with fever because you are getting sick, and you're going to become horribly sick and probably die if that bacteria gets into your blood, and you're done. You're going to be done if you don't get emergency medical care. And I think maybe that was what I was going through at that moment, because I just said, I'm right, I'm right. Like I'm not in some terrible pain, but it's like something's going on. It's like I was sweating a little bit and just looking around the walls, looking around the place, this high ceiling, and all these people in here who were waiting in the emergency room, and there was almost no seats left because it's a city, people who have emergencies, they come in, and I was like, I thought they were going to I thought they were going to call ahead, and I was going to be able to go right back to some room just to have a bed or do whatever. But here I am waiting, and I'm looking at the walls, and I just remember feeling like that, like that's the fever, it was like, it was getting to me. It was getting to me. I was going into like a delirium kind of a thing. Just, I remember doing that and touching my knees, like looking around the place. It was something else, man. Maybe 40 minutes, if that. I don't think even that long. That was the only thing that was on the verge of upsetting me. It's like, because I know my situation now. I know I've got to get this stuff addressed now. And I'm just like, I can't imagine being stuck like that forever. Just like in limbo. Just, wow. Anyways, it wasn't that long. They called me back, gave me a bed. Right around the corner almost, it feels like. One of the first little doors into their little emergency room area, where they actually have their rooms, where they're helping people. And they put me into this bed that, at first I didn't think it was uncomfortable, but my goodness, it was horribly uncomfortable. It didn't go up or down. You're slightly your head slightly elevated, and from your midsection upward. And it didn't move. They couldn't adjust anything, and they didn't offer to. And it's like, this is just how this bed is. And I was in this bed, in this position, from around 3 o'clock on Tuesday to 2:30 of Thursday morning. They weren't able to get me a room out of the emergency area for like a day and a half. I was in that bed with the IV they hooked up to me, and except for one time they kind of got me out of the bed. It was Wednesday morning. They wanted me to get another CT scan from them. That was a little bit more thorough. They wanted to see things more clearly. So that's my second CT scan in like 2 days. And that's the only time I got out of that bed, when I got up to get onto that CT table and then get back into that horrible bed. That nurse, that help lady, that tech, because I think she mainly just does the CT scans, she said, the way she described it, like, because I asked her about the bed. Is there any way I can, I can help you to pull up a little bit, unless you're good. You look like, she said, you look like you're riding dirty. That's the way she put it. The way I was halfway down with my legs partially hanging off and my boots, because the shoes I wear, they're more boot than shoe, like up to your ankles, no skid boots from my job that I still had on, and I had on like a day. They didn't take them off, and I didn't ask them to take them off. Just hanging on that bed for a day, laying in that bed. Anyway, she got me back and into the emergency room, and they had the stuff hooked up to me because Dr. Tyon, as his name is, had said, I'm going to get you started with some antibiotics. And he talked with my mom about how nobody called. Was somebody supposed to call? And so there was a little miscommunication there about the hospital in Lucedale and the hospital in Mobile, Providence. There's several hospitals in Mobile. And when he said, I think you're going to be all right, that meant so much to me, because you know the way the doctors are. They got their eye on you. They got, even when they're not in the room, they're looking at your sheet. They're thinking about what's got to be done. They're working, even if you're like me and you just want to talk. I started laughing at one point after, maybe it was the next day, maybe it was Wednesday, when he's in the room for a minute or so, and then he's right back out again. I just wanted to talk about my situation and what's going on, and what my chances are and all this stuff. And I think he understood that at one point when I started laughing, like, I just want to talk. And that's before he left that time is when he said, I think you're going to be all right. He had the friendliest little smile on his face. And before he left, and I just appreciated that. As far as I'm concerned, every doctor and nurse in that hospital could come, just give me 2 minutes, come in here, and tell me I'm not going to die. That's the mode I was in at that particular moment of this ordeal, and it got better. It already had kind of gotten better as soon as I realized, hey, they gave me antibiotics. They got me hooked up with this IV, and that's what's happening. They keep giving me something for, because they didn't want me to eat or drink anything in case I did have to go into surgery. So they were giving me the whatever IV for food intravenously to keep me hydrated and everything in case maybe the next day I would need to go into surgery, because he had mentioned we don't want him to exasperate is not the word. I'm getting the word wrong. I'll try and put it on the screen here. I'll put it on the screen, the actual word for this. If you've eaten, and what can happen if you have surgery and you've recently drank or eaten food. Anyways, I had a little thing on my finger that clamps on there that monitors your vitals, and I had an IV here, and actually it was only when I got to my room that I had two IVs at once at one point, I think. Oh, I'll get to that. And I got to keep this one shorter than an hour. I've got to, because I wasn't able to edit that last video. I wanted to add in a few photos, and I'll probably do that with this video. Things that you'll only understand if you watch the first part of my story, part 1 of my appendicitis adventure. Anyways, I was there in that bed for like a day and a half. And you don't complain. You don't complain in the moment. There was no getting good rest in that bed. And you know this if you've been in the hospital. It's 2 knocks, and then I would knock harder, but I'm afraid my phone's going to fall. They get, and then they're coming in. And I managed to work out my peeing just so that nobody was in the, because they put the little handle flask, whatever it is, that you can pee in. If you're a man, I don't know what the ladies have to go through. Even more of an ordeal, I suppose, because they're always coming in. I don't want to get caught peeing in this bed. Even into this thing here. You hang it on the side of the bed, like my uncle had to when he was in the hospital a year ago. And what was this part of the experience like? I just want to say this. Lying there and lying there and lying there gave me a chance to think about my situation. And at one point when I realized that at least I got the antibiotics, so hopefully this stuff is going to be fought off. Like, I'm not going to get sicker. They're helping me. I'm not going to get. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. That's what I just told myself. And when my mother was in the room one time when she visited, and she's so great, she visited me every day I was in the hospital. And one of the nurses was doing something with the IV or changing something out, refilling, swapping out one bag for another with a little vial that has the antibiotics, penicillin stuff. And I was just staring at the wall, just thinking about it. And I couldn't help it. I said, I'm a lucky dog. I know I'm a lucky dog. I think my mom laughed. Maybe the nurse did too, but I was just like, I don't know how I wasn't in even worse shape. Because the pain was gone. There's some discomfort, and there's a little slight ache, a little twinge of pain, just for a second. Didn't even really hurt. It's just like a little ache, like an awareness, right there where my ruptured appendix was. But beyond that, it's like, I feel okay now. It's just that my abdomen is now full of pus and bacteria, and that's what's having to be addressed because it ruptured. How crazy was that time? That night, Tuesday night, I just kept the TV on, and I don't know what the Pete Davidson jumping on the stage, singing, rapping, I don't know what that show is. It looks like reruns from something from years ago, I guess, but I don't know. And I'm like, for the sake of not being offended, I'm just going to keep these people on because at least they've got some energy, some young people excited. I don't even know what the show was, but I kept the volume down where I could barely hear it just to have something going. Before that, though, the Liam Neeson film, uh, The Commuter, came on, and I remember seeing that movie at AMC in Mobile, Alabama, like 8 years ago now. Came out like 2017, 2018, something like that. Not an old movie, a really old movie. It's kind of new, but not brand new. Not a new release or anything. And I remember kind of liking the movie, and I just kind of played it on low as well, and just 2 nights in a row because it came on again the next night, and also this other movie with Jennifer Lawrence. Depressing as all get out, and I had the volume low because it's like I'm kind of in a daze still. I'm not really taking in stories here, folks. I'm just watching the images. I'm like, hey, I know she's in the Hunger Games or whatever. I never saw those movies, but I gotta watch them one day. I just know she's in them, Jennifer Lawrence, and it's the most depressing. Everybody's on drugs. Middle America, old story of what happened to her dad, and she gets closure at the end. She's trying to save her house, or her mom's kind of lost her mind. It's just multiple layers of tragedy in this story. I keep looking up here because that's where when I was laying in that bed, that's where the TV was, up in that corner of the room. So that's why I'm looking off to the left here. Anyways, let me speed up a little bit. Finally got into a room after lying there for a day and a half. Phone calls from several relatives, and I could hear Mom talking, and I could hear kind of the conversation on the other end of the line. Just because she was sitting right next to me, and just the outpouring of support that I had from my family, and also members of the church, because it's in Mobile. Almost the whole congregation visited me once I got into my regular room. I kid you not, one by one throughout the days, because I was there for 8 days. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I came to Mobile and not Hattiesburg, because this would have been a 2-hour drive for anybody to come visit me while I'm in the hospital. I'm like, but as it is, I went to where they live. I wasn't even really thinking that at the time. I just go to Mobile so often. And again, from where I live and from where Lucedale is, Providence Hospital is the closest hospital to where I was. So it was a good decision going there. And I love these people now. I appreciate everybody at Providence. Every nurse, every doctor was so good to me while I was there. It was unreal. I'm like, and I thought about this. I had plenty of time to think while I was in that bed for until the next got in on Tuesday, and then the next Thursday, that is the next week, is when I finally got out. What was it, Friday morning? I've lost track of if it was Thursday morning or Friday morning. I only remember well, I won't mention his name. I shouldn't have mentioned the other doctor's name, but it is what it is. I'll say Dr. B because his name starts with a B. Dr. B had to remove the drain from me because, like I mentioned in the first video about the drainage, that's what had to happen to me. Once I got into my room, things started to be explained to me more. It was Thursday morning, that is 2 days after I got to the hospital, that they took me down, and I signed the consent and everything for having a drain put in. It's a little bulb with a tube that goes into you, and that tube is about the same size as a phone charge. Literally, it's maybe slightly smaller, but not really, because the pus and bacteria and stuff that they're draining out of the abdomen that was released when the appendix ruptured is what they're draining out of you. And I had that thing on me for like 7 or 8 days. And yeah, I was kind of, I'll tell you this, I wasn't nervous or scared about that or anything, because it's like, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. They took me down. Everybody was so cordial, the way they explained everything, the friendliness, they were all so great. They numbed the bottom of my belly on the right side, especially, for doing that. And this man did such a great job. At one point, when they had me on the table, and I think they had my arms like above my head, so that it wouldn't interfere at all with what he was doing down here when he was putting that thing in. And he did it so well. My goodness, the bandage, the way it was rigged up and everything, the way it went under the bandage and everything. I couldn't see the actual hole that was covered in me that they made. I could only see the tube coming out, and then this bulb, it looked like a grenade or something, like a see-through thing. I'll try and put a photo on the screen of what that was. And at first, though, when he was first putting it in, and he was just draining as much as he could, I guess, at that moment when he was first putting it in, he looked back at me as I'm on the table here looking at it. He looked back at me, had a syringe like that big, with you can see what's inside. He says, "This is what's coming out." And inside of the syringe was the most icky-looking junk you ever saw. And that was the same stuff that would be coming out of me slowly but surely over the next few days, just kind of draining off this pus-smelling stuff. And I told my sister it looked like Yoo-hoo, and she was like, "Oh, don't you say that. Yoo-hoo is good. Don't say it looks like Yoo-hoo." It looked like Yoo-hoo. What do you want? That's what it looked like. It looked like Yoo-hoo coming out of me. That's what this stuff was. Anyway, that's one of the good memories, grossing her out about that. And don't say it looks like that. Funny. But yeah, when I say I had time to think about things during that time, I was thinking about, you can think about everything, especially if you're not just watching the TV, which I didn't really care to watch the TV almost at all. I tried to turn it on at night to have something going when I would try and get to sleep, but then again, it's still, with me, I don't know if it's being a middle-aged fat man, they wanted me to be a diabetic. So many people came in and they're looking at my charts saying, "Are you a diabetic? Do you have diabetes?" I'm like, "No, I don't think so." Because it's 2 knocks and they're coming in. There's no sleep. You can't get good rest. And so many of them wanted to ask that question. And so I had the sugar test. They were coming in and pumping a little hole with a little needle every 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes it seemed like 2, but yeah, it was 4 hours to do a sugar test. And finally, by Wednesday or so, one of my nurses, a night nurse, had said, "Look, your blood work has been perfect since you got in here. We're taking you off of the sugar test," which is great. Plus, they were drawing blood and all the time, like twice a day at least, a good blood taken. But the blood test, it's like every 4 hours they would come in. Here's the finger. I don't think I've been more compliant with anybody else in my life, because these are the people who are saving me, right? Here, check your vitals. Gotta get that thing under the tongue. Gotta check the temperature. Gotta check the blood pressure. Gotta do the blood test. Poke a hole in my finger. And I just couldn't help but think about my grandma, who did have diabetes and did have to check her sugar all the time years and years ago when she was still alive. And how she got used to that. Ugh. Just thinking about her having her finger and pumping it up like that, and then poking a hole, and it's like, I think they have new methods now doing that, getting that done for people, so they're not constantly poking holes. And because I can see all the little dots on my fingers at the time. It's like I made a game of it. I said, because a couple of them wanted to ask the question, which finger? We haven't given this one much attention. I think I saved my pinky altogether. I don't think I made the pinky take any pain. But like this guy, I let him have some, and of course the index finger got the most of it, and they never did the thumb either. So pinky and thumb were like, these are like pristine fingers. They've never been poked with the sugar needle. But these 3, I kept giving them each a different turn and get that done. Back to what I was talking about, having time to think. I was thinking about the hospital system and civilization. You got so much time to think when you're stuck in the hospital. And in that situation, it's like the magnificence of the healthcare system that a lot of people want to complain about. I'm here to praise it. In fact, I might make a video just thanking Providence Hospital one day and how thankful to God I am that they're there. Because think about appendicitis back in the day, you know, when maybe people wouldn't even know what was going on. And in like the past couple of centuries, in the 20th century, where if they could diagnose what was going on with you, they would have to cut you wide open with an incision like that big. And that could introduce all kind of new problems with maybe infection after the fact because of such a large incision and having to keep it for 2 and 3 months, having to cut you wide open and get that thing out of there. But that's one thing Brother Ken, the minister where I'm a member of the church, he talked about with me. He's like, yeah, I guess at some point over the past little while they decided it's best to drain it. And I'm looking it up on Google and educating myself about all this stuff. Like yeah, that's what they do, not just with appendicitis, but with a lot of stuff. Drain the infection first, and then go in and fix whatever needs to be fixed with the surgery after the fact. And so that's what had to happen. And I'm gradually learning that more and more. It's just I wish Dr. B had spent more time with me and told me about the time frame of things, because it was only a couple of days before I finally got out of the hospital that I learned what was going down as far as the surgery that would need to happen to get my appendix out of there, because it needed to be removed. And I think it was like the last day, Thursday or Friday, when he finally told me, whoops, gotta pause it. I had a little visitor, but now we're back. Where was I? Oh yeah, Dr. B. He finally told me these surgeries for removing your appendix, appendectomy, is usually scheduled about 6 weeks from the time the drain is removed. And give or take another 3 days or so, that's exactly what's happened. As of now, I have had the surgery. That's how long it's been since I made part 1 of my Appendicitis Adventure. And I would show you the picture I took of my bandages, but one of them had, for whatever reason, the 3 holes that they made in me doing the surgery yesterday morning, it bled through. I've just changed my bandages out the gauze, but I don't know why the top one bled, like almost all the gauze was soaked through, like it had really, I don't know if I bent over and an incision, the little tiny incision that they make, came loose or what. But yeah, YouTube would probably be upset with me if I showed that picture I took, so I'll just describe it. They made 3 holes in me yesterday morning, and because Dr. B says he likes to go in through the left to go over to the right. And I'll tell you, I know I've just skipped ahead a lot of stuff, but I'll go back to it in a minute. I just wanted to tell you that about the sequence in which I learn things and things happen. It's like, when are they going to tell me what I got to do? Because I can't. It was getting miserable in that hospital for being there 8 days, because it became like a prison. I was joking with Mom. It's like, this is like home now. It's going to feel weird getting out of here because of how long I've been in here. One time when Dr. B came in checking the drain to see how much was coming out, because he wanted to get to where, and he described it as like a light pink, like almost maybe traces of blood, like your basic fluids that would be in the area draining out, and not that yoo-hoo looking junk that was the infection, the pus and stuff that needed to be drained out. And so I thought I was good a couple of days earlier, but he knows what he's doing, and he's the one who's taking care of me. That Thursday or Friday morning was when we finally got to where he was going to take the drain out. And he says, I think we'll pull it tomorrow. I'm like, wonderful, wonderful. And I made the mistake of looking at him do it when he did it, when he came in that morning. Pulling that thing, he snip, a couple of little stitches, couldn't feel a thing. No pain at all. Slight discomfort as he pulled the plug out of me. Again, this thing is like this. And it's like, it's in you just 3 inches or so, I guess. And I made the mistake of looking at it. I looked at him pull it out of me as he was doing it. I wish I hadn't done that, because that's stuck in my mind now. And I'm like, it looks so much more painful than it actually is, and it weirds you out when you do things like that. Like, anyways, he pulled it, and that same morning where they got the drain out of me is when they let me go home. I was released, and yeah, I was in my room 8 days. And again, when I was in that bed, I would turn the TV on and try and find. I was like, I wonder if the Liam Neeson movie is going to come on again. It reran once. Maybe it'll rerun again. Maybe they'll play it all week or something. I don't know. But no, they were playing other movies. But I think I finally found the station, or did I? I think I gave up. And instead, I had my phone brought from home. I was on that more. My mom brought me a crossword puzzle. And I did several of them, too. I would... Where is that thing? This is what she brought me. Just to eat the time up a little bit. Just to have something to do while I was in the hospital. This is a large print. Oh, I haven't even made a note. I wrote in there. Look at that. What did I say? Mom brought me this in the hospital in early June of 2026 to help me pass the time. It really did help. David McLeod. And it would just have these themes like aromatherapy. And then you find all these words related to aromatherapy. Several of them I've never heard before. So after I was done finding the word, I would look it up on Google and actually read what it was about. And I passed the time that way a little bit. And also a book I had brought from home. I actually got into it, started reading it just to pass the time. And again, I had so many visitors. Almost everyone from church came to visit me while I was in the hospital. And it was just so uplifting. And it really messes with you in a way. You become thankful, but you're like, I wish I could be with these people all the time. And not just on Sunday. Here's an occasion. They came to visit me when I was in the hospital, and it was just, it made it good somehow. That and not being in any pain. Again, with appendicitis, the pain comes beforehand, and then after it ruptures, you're just there trying to clean up the mess. And that's my message in this 2-part video series. If you can possibly avoid doing things the way I did it. I'm your cautionary example. Don't wait. Don't linger. Because you'll end up like me, having spent part of your immune system. I don't know the knock that my immune system has taken by doing all this. If you can, because of the antibiotics, because of the fact that my body had to fight off an infection when it wouldn't have had to if I had just reached out for help, if I just called an ambulance and didn't try and lie to myself about, no, you don't have that, you've got this. And surely it would hurt more if it were appendicitis, and all the different junk I told myself when I was driving home, and then when I was home for 2 days. This is going to haunt me forever. I've got to admit that. I've got to accept it. And maybe it's good. Maybe it's good that I can't let that go. Thinking about it. Being in this bed for 2 days. And that was my problem. What a fool. I said that in the last video. It's like, how did I not get a blood infection? How did I not get sepsis from letting it go as long as I did? I have no idea. I don't know. All I can say is, thank God. Because I believe the Lord was just with me, Because I look up these videos about appendicitis and stuff, and you see on YouTube in the comment section, lots of them are people who've had appendicitis are giving their little testimonials in a paragraph or two, like, oh yeah, when I had it, this happened, and yeah, I actually felt it burst when mine ruptured, and all the different things people say. And like one guy said, he did get a blood infection. I just felt so bad when I read those words, because I'm like, it was day 2 or 3 of me being in my room, my actual room at the hospital, when the sweet little Asian lady, the doctor came in. I think she almost always wore a mask for some reason. I don't know if she just was doing it. She wouldn't have to take it off or what. But she said, we've been studying the culture of the blood we took. She looked at me, she said, there's nothing growing in your blood. And right at that moment, I wanted to just, like, give her a thumbs up, like, yeah, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. It's like, but so many people, they do get a blood infection, and that's as serious as it gets if that happens, and it didn't happen to me. I'm like, I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful to God that didn't happen. Anyways, what more can I say? Got to keep this under an hour, but there's so much more I want to tell you about it, because again, I was there for 8 days. Just lying there when nobody was around, when they didn't bring me something to eat, which they did start letting me eat solid food once I had the drain in, and because the surgery, I would find out, wasn't going to be until 6 weeks later, which that 6 weeks is come and gone. I had the surgery yesterday, and all went well, and I no longer have my appendix now. And it's been neat talking with people about the appendix, people at church, people in my family, my life. Like what did the appendix do? And even doctors and these experts are like, it isn't understood 100% what it does. It's just that it has this reservoir of bacteria, and it's believed that it has something to do with some immune responses, maybe. And that is the best thing. That's the most interesting thing I have seen yet about the appendix and what it does. But I'll tell you what, I don't believe God gives you body parts that don't do anything. It was doing something. Believe it. It was doing something, folks. And now I get to find out what it's not doing for me anymore, because I no longer have one. And that's another thing about the space of time in between when I went to the hospital and yesterday when I got the surgery done finally and got my appendix removed. I felt fine during this whole time, except for that little twinge of pain when I would move a certain way, and not even every time, but just sometimes. I was like, "Ooh, that's my ruptured appendix talking to me." It's like there was a slight little awareness there, a little ache, a little pain. It goes away immediately. It's just like a nerve or something, maybe damaged. I don't know. And somebody was sympathizing with me from church about how he knows all about, from something he had to do for his baby, now his daughter, all grown up, but years and years ago, something that had to be prevented about what they had as a baby. It involved surgeries, many surgeries over time. When nothing was really wrong yet, they knew something was going to be. It had to be something that had to be done to prevent something bad from happening. I'll just say that. And so he said, I know what you mean about how you're in a weird headspace. You feel fine, but you still got to go through this surgery. What? I'm not sick. I feel fine. So that's another aspect to all this, that the weirdness that is appendicitis and having to get the surgery done. And now I've come full circle, because now it's a day later from me getting the surgery, and it's all finally done now. I got a follow-up with Dr. B in a couple weeks. Another day off from work, thank you. No money, but another day off from work. To just, I guess he wants to see he probably wants to look at the incisions real quick and make sure everything's good with me, and that'll be it. But now I've become full circle. I'm right back to where I was when I had my appendix and appendicitis. Why? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that they blow you up when they do the surgery. and they were rooting around in there to get to the appendix to take it out. And now I have yellow on my, almost up to my diaphragm, different patches of yellow, not just the iodine stuff. It was like, it's like jaundice, like where there's blood underneath that's having to reset from things that they did. And pain, not terrible pain, but I couldn't sleep. That's what I mean by full circle. I'm right back to where I was when I had appendicitis, and I could barely sleep because I couldn't get comfortable. That's the way last night was. Finally, I was able to get into a sitting position with this little incline pillow thing that my mom has, and I was finally able to get to sleep, and I got enough rest, which was great, which was so great, because the night before the surgery, I didn't hardly sleep at all. I'm like, I ain't going to be able to sleep tonight. There's no way. Maybe an hour and a half coming in and out of consciousness before I drove myself, because I didn't want anybody coming with me. When I went to the surgery the other morning, I thought I'd be in a better headspace, which it all worked out just fine. And now I don't have an appendix, and I get to find out what life is like without that. Anyways, what more can I say, folks? I want to leave again with the cautionary warning, cautionary public service announcement, whatever you want to call it. If you're in pain, you know you're in pain, and you don't know what it is, get help. Whatever help you get. If it's advice, get some good advice. If you think you need to go to the hospital, go to the hospital, because that's the grief I mentioned before that I could have saved myself. I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in right now, recovering from a surgery, if I had done this a month and a half ago when the weird pains and problems were first coming on, you know? They would have taken it out then. And yeah, there probably would have been some antibiotics, but there wouldn't have been nearly as much of a reason, and as much as if you can get it out before the appendix ruptures, you don't have to deal with the horrible onslaught of bacteria attacking your body. You see what I mean? That's all I meant by you can save yourself a lot of grief if you can get it before it ruptures. Get it out before the life-threatening part of it occurs. And you have to, and your body has to use itself up fighting off this infection. Anyways, that's all I got, folks. I wish I had a better. I wish I had a storyteller's mind and made this all much more interesting instead of just rambling for 48 minutes. But maybe I'll visit this again in the future, or better yet, maybe I'll finally do what I need to do about a lot of things. Maybe I'll write it all down, which would be the very best way to go about it, to really get my details down. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me, folks. It's more attention than I deserve, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, and peace.